The mangrove forest canopy filters out most of the sunlight, and the roots trap sediment, so the result is a dark, silty environment. The fact that mangroves can live in salt water is no small feat. The underwater portion of their roots is actually able to filter the salt straight out of the ocean. When the tide goes out and the roots become exposed to air, they can switch their function and absorb oxygen. They do this by opening small pores on the roots, these little white bumps that are called lenticels. This is vital for their survival because the sediment and organic debris that's gathering at the base of the roots is decomposing, and it creates an anoxic environment. And even though plants are net producers of oxygen, they do need to absorb oxygen from the atmosphere in order to metabolize. The shelter that the mangrove roots provide is a great refuge for small fish to avoid predators, and it's a well-known nursery area for a lot of coral reef fish. During our time in the mangroves, the few fish that did appear seemed to vanish into the darkness like some kind of apparition. Quite a few animals use the mangrove roots themselves as their home. Sponges, barnacles. And this little crab hung out until a leaf drifted by and took him off to somewhere new. In most parts of the tropics, the mangrove forest habitat serves a really important function to the marine ecosystem. Healthy mangrove forests can reduce erosion, they can protect the shoreline from the impact of storms, and they can greatly reduce the amount of sediment that runs off of land and ends up on the coral reef. Mangrove forests around the world face a lot of threats from human development of coastlines, and there are major efforts to save and restore mangrove forests in many parts of the world.
Climate change is changing in weather patterns due to global warming. Due to human activities such as banning of CFCs. What are some of the impact of on organisms and mangroves? Coral bleaching, where the algae dies. Soil erosion can be another factor where the mangroves are washed away, which affects the shorelines and the marine ecosystem, where there will be food shortage for humans and we will have more large waves. Deforestation can also be another impact, where humans use mangroves for their own benefits. Example, timber, firewood and medicine, which leads to habitat loss and many other problems. What are some importance of mangroves to our environment? It prevents soil erosion and large waves, where we can have less chances of tidal waves. It also beautifies the nature around the shorelines. Mangroves also provides food and shelter for many small organisms such as crabs. What can be done to improve the impact of climate change on mangroves? We can use 3 R's: reuse, reduce and recycle. For example, banning of CFCs. where ozone layer is damaged and it leads to direct sun rays on Earth. Here we have diseases such as skin cancer. We can introduce new techniques in our society. For example, actions can be taken if rules and regulations are not. Planting of mangroves can be another way. Can be done after deforestation.
Climate change is already having a significant and costly effect on our communities, our health and our climate. Some of the disadvantages of mangroves is pollution, the fertilizers, pesticides and other toxic man-made chemicals carried by river systems from sources upstream that smother mangrove roots and suffocate trees. The other reason could be overfishing, destruction of coral reef, stronger waves and currents reaching the coast affects the growth of mangroves. Overharvesting, mangroves used for firewood, charcoal production and animal fodder. The clearing of mangrove forests also for new tourist developments, shrimp, aquaculture, salt farms creates mangrove loss. Why or how does mangrove protect our coastline? It stabilizes the coastline by protecting coral reefs and prevents erosion from waves and storms, and is also a barrier against tsunamis, cyclones and hurricanes.
What are some solutions to prevent?
There are many solutions, but we are not aware of them yet. But the ones we are just following are like planting the mangroves around the reefs, planting the corals, coral breeding, and planting more trees. That's really wide nowadays. And yeah, there are some others which I can't remember. Yeah.
Has climate change affected you?
Yeah, it has, since I live near the ocean, and the sea level there is really rising up. It's just at our doorsteps now, so we can't do much, just take precautions.
Has your country done anything in regards to climate change?
Yeah, they have, using biodegradable products. They're introducing that as well, and carrying out campaigns to go around the coastlines to plant the mangroves and clean up the beach areas to protect the ocean also.
To me, climate change is changing weather patterns over a long period of time, and it also, to me, it means like the natural disasters that usually occur in the normal period of time, they are more frequent and happening off season. And we can say that to Winston as well, because the cyclones are getting stronger and they're more damage done to the environment. And some of these damages, they're not just by man, they're just by the weather turning against us. What leads to climate change? Climate change, well, I think it's just enhanced greenhouse effect. And what causes greenhouse effect, most of us know by now, but just to reiterate on that. So it's just emission of carbon and all these other toxic fumes into the air, which depletes the ozone layer and it leads to global warming, and global warming goes on to climate change. To me, climate change is changing weather patterns over a long period of time, and it also, to me, it means like the natural disasters that usually occur in the normal period of time, they are more frequent and happening off season. And we can say that to Winston as well, because the cyclones are getting stronger and they're more damage done to the environment. And some of these damages, they're not just by man, they're just by the weather turning against us. What leads to climate change? Climate change, well, I think it's just enhanced greenhouse effect. And what causes greenhouse effect, most of us know by now, but just to reiterate on that. So it's just emission of carbon and all these other toxic fumes into the air, which depletes the ozone layer and it leads to global warming, and global warming goes on
Mangroves are famous for aquaculture. Due to the introduction of commercial shrimp farming, aquaculture has been grown rapidly. Farmers started to use chemicals and nutrients to help shrimp mature faster. From the use of low production ponds, farmers have begun to use high production ponds, usually which are open system ponds. One of these are mangrove forests, where farmers cut down trees to make space for shrimp farming, due to which many species lose their habitat. The destruction of mangrove forests is detrimental to the environment as well as organisms and humans who depend on them. Unfortunately, the rise in open production shrimp farming has caused the destruction of mangroves up to 50%. When industries clear up the mangroves, the fish production too declines. Also, the destruction of mangrove decreases the amount of clean water and make tropical environments more vulnerable to hurricanes, storms, floods, and other natural disasters. When shrimp farming is complete, farmers dispose the wastewater into mangroves. As the wastewater consists the acids, bacteria, and salt, it enters the soil and makes mangrove growth impossible, where many mangrove plants die. Another issue is the carbon emission, which is of a prevalence of the world. It involves the gas cycles, where too much carbon dioxide is circulated into the soil and back into the atmosphere, which results to global warming, causing climate change. Shrimp farming also leads to carbon emission. In fact, the wastewater spread algal blooms, which is rich in nutrients, resulting to eutrophication, where oxygen level decreases and many organisms die out suffocation. In order to save mangroves, there is a need to maintain integrity of ecosystems, to promote social and economic equality, to balance the available resources and its demand, as the traditional shrimp farming method led to commercial farming in open production system that destroys mangroves. The solution can be a closed production system. This production involves technological system and is man-made, which allows shrimp farming without the use of pesticides, which reduces the ability of mangroves to die out, and therefore it will be easily conserved. The closed production system is beneficial to the environment but is expensive as it is too rare. The closed production system reduces pollution, which contributes in reducing climate change effects and does not harm mangroves as well. Afforestation and having fine policies are also ways to conserve mangroves.